is Casey Mulholland. I'm the owner of Kinetic Pro Performance here in Tampa, Florida. We have been in business since 2017. I've worked with some of the game's top athletes from the MLB all the way down to the amateur level. So uniquely, when I first got into coaching, one of the first things I did was I got to hang out in a biomechanics lab. And so I was, not that I have the background in it, but I was always intrigued of, from my playing days, how it would help me understand how to more objectively look at pitchers and make insights. My experience today has been mostly through ProPlayAI, and I've been lucky enough to be a part of the beta since its founding. So since Mike showed me the first iteration of the app and what the product could really do, I got really excited about how far this could take us into understanding what our players do on the day-to-day. It's the power of the sheer number of videos and the amount of reports that we can run that is so cool for somebody like me in a space where we can't afford a $300,000 biomechanics lab, and we're really not set up for it either. We need to be able to run sheer numbers, and ProPlayAI has been able to handle that, allow us to do that, and give me more hands-on experience with being able to, actually implement biomechanics on a daily basis. I'll say it this way. What excites me the most about ProPlayAI is the ability to get data daily. So it's not going to take me marking up a bunch of players, getting them down their underwear where they feel inconsistent or maybe a little uncomfortable. It gives me the ability to record every day. That also gives me the ability in the future, what I get most excited about is it gives me the ability to connect this to other technologies. So when I'm pulling in ProPlayAI data and pulling it in as often as we do, I can basically reassess the athlete weekly or daily and combine that against some of the other data that we have that are also pulling in assessment-based protocols for us on a weekly or daily process. So combining those things and looking at change over time for athletes is critical, and it's where the game's really going. Being able to utilize and leverage technology or new softwares to look further into insights and see longer-term trends and predictive modeling. That's really the focus in the future of our business, and why I think ProPlay is such a great fit for us and something I'm really excited about. Analyzing pitchers has been one of those things that Mike and I have spent a lot of time talking about. How do we really understand this? Because I see myself somewhere between the average coach daily and the engineers. I'm not an engineer. And I've been a little bit more exposed to technology and some of the software over time in certain areas. So, Mike and I have had a lot of conversations about how do we bridge the discussion between, the engineers and the guys that are building these things and the coaches who are trying to implement them on a daily basis. And, I've had this background of communication and trying to analyze this process. For me, when I look at this process of players, I bring a guy in, we run him through a session with us. We'll run ProPlayAI on him. It really comes down to, one, I'm looking at his kinematic sequencing, and I'm trying to figure out where the deficiencies are there. It's kind of my home base, the foundation. And then from there, once I've identified an area in which we feel is inadequate or maybe not at its best, we want to then go in and look deeper into positioning and velocity of that athlete's movement, and then compare that back and try to determine, is this a physical thing, or is this something as me as a pitching coach I can fix with a drill? And that's where I think the beauty of this is we help athletes understand where they need to spend their most time. And for my analysis, being able to depict what the smallest pieces are for the big picture, having that system, it helps the athlete also build their program for the big picture. And I can go back and continue to analyze effectively and communicate effectively. Trying to look for one thing in ProPlayAI, I'm not sure that there is one specific thing that we really look at. That's the power of ProPlayAI. It's providing you so much detail and so much data on a daily basis. The thing that, I think that, again, Mike and I have spent so much time talking about is how do we simplify the system and the process to be able to deliver this? I think that's one thing that I've been so excited about with the ProPlay team, is that they're looking to democratize biomechanics. They want to bring it to the masses, and they want to aid in this, systematic discussion of saying, hey, if you're a layman's coach and you feel like you want to learn, you want to jump into some of the newer things that are coming out, but maybe you don't have an engineering background, or maybe you haven't experienced the biomechanics lab before, that's okay. ProPlay and the team has been amazing to listen to them talk about how they want to get this in the hands of that coach, and give them this power to look so broadly, so deeply, to figuring out individual needs per individual athlete. I think this is going to revolutionize baseball, and provide biomechanics to the masses. And so for me, is there one thing that I look at specifically? No, not really. But is there power for the coach to hone in on one specific thing for an individual athlete? Absolutely. That's 100% what ProPlayAI is for. I think ProPlayAI is going to change the game for one main reason for us. We're looking at, years and years ago, Moneyball came in and they created this predictive player value. So what the players did on the field was the main focus for baseball for a long time. Now we're starting to look at that predictive model off the field. What are they doing in their player development? What are they doing in their training? The mission of my company, Kinetic Pro, what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a value system for player development. And ProPlayAI is going to be integral in that. Number one, it's cost effective. The idea that I don't have to spend $300,000, I don't have to mark our guy up to run through a biomechanics lab. Number two, the power of just computer vision alone is going to be something that can deeply touch other areas, not just pitching into the future, and allow us this data set consistently on guys that we can then, like I said before, compare and contrast against other technologies, to be able to look in deeper and determine what's actually correlating to things like ball velocity. We have coaches, there's so much marketing out there that says, oh, look, this athlete came in and had an assessment with us. 3 weeks later, this athlete's now throwing harder. Well, was it the program, or was it that the kid was, maybe a little more well-rested? Maybe it was summertime, he's not in school anymore, not having to wake up early. Maybe he was lifting less and his body recovered better. There's so many different moving pieces. I think ProPlayAI is going to be one of, and probably the biggest of those pieces to track consistently what's happening over time, with computer vision. But combining all those pieces together, I think, is the gold standard of what's ahead. And what's really exciting for guys like myself, who, we look at injury correlations through, old, consistent research, and we see these data sets of 20 guys, done over the span of a weekend or maybe, a couple months. ProPlayAI has a chance here to put together some of the biggest data sets and some of the largest research ever recorded in history of pitching, and give us deeper insights to figure out what is arm health and what is ball velocity. How do we produce our performance for a pitcher? How do we produce better performance? That's where I get excited about the product, and I think how it's going to change the game.